Good morning and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be taking a look at lesson unit 10, lesson 8 in our math books. And for this lesson, we are going to be using the distributive property to find the area of a figure. Now, before we begin, let's take a look at what a distributive property is. We've talked about that in the beginning or towards the middle of the year, but we haven't heard or used that term in a while. So let's just take a quick review course of what the distributive property is.
Hey guys, I came in here looking for the distributive property of multiplication, but I had no idea these guys were in here too. I am being chased by number-eating sharks, and I am one of the tastier numbers around, so you can imagine how scared I am. Why don't you guys learn about the distributive property of multiplication while I lose these guys? Sound good? Thanks. See you back here when you're done. The distributive property helps us find a product that we don't know by breaking larger factors into smaller factors. This can sound a little scary, but once we understand it, we will see that it is not that bad. Here we have the problem 7 times 7. I still struggle with multiplication, so I am going to use the distributive property to make this easier to solve. We are going to take this 7 here and break it apart into two smaller numbers. The distributive property only allows us to break apart one of the factors in an equation. 5 plus 2 equals 7, and we can now multiply each of these numbers by the first 7 in the problem. I know that 5 times 7 is 35 because I know my 5 times tables. I also know my 2 times tables, and 2 times 7 is 14. What we just did was take the first 7 in the problem and multiply it by both the 5 and the 2. I did not know my 7 times tables very well, but by breaking the numbers apart, I was able to solve these two equations. Wait, are we done yet? No, we still have to finish the problem. In order to get the answer, we need to add the 35 and 14 together. 5 plus 4 is 9, and 3 plus 1 is 4. Wow, 49 is the answer. That is awesome! So 7 times 7 is 49. Even though we did not know our 7 times tables very well, we solved the problem by breaking apart one of the factors into numbers we knew how to multiply. Then we added the 35 and 14 together and got our answer. That is amazing! It looks like the sharks want us to try another problem. Here we have 8 times 6. Let's break apart the first factor, the number 8. There are several ways to break apart 8, but I want to use 5 plus 3 because I know my 5 times tables. We now need to multiply 6 by both the 5 and 3. I know that 5 times 6 equals 30. What does 3 times 6 equal? 18. Great job! We now need to add the 30 plus 18. 0 plus 8 is 8, and 3 plus 1 is 4. 48 is the answer. 8 times 6 equals 48, and we figured that out using the distributive property. We were able to find the product or answer to a multiplication problem by using the distributive property. Can you see how using this method can help us answer hard multiplication problems? Wow, thank you guys so much for joining me. I was able to lose the sharks and all is good now. We will see you next time. Goodbye. Hey, did it?
Okay, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I also hope that it reminded you of what the distributive property was. So again, in this lesson, we are going to be using length, which is the longer side of an object. We're going to be using the surface, the uppermost layer of something. And we're also going to be looking at width, which is the shorter side of an object, and also the area. The area is the measurement of the surface of a closed plane shape. And again, when we're talking about area, we're talking about the measurement inside of the shape. And from the last few days, we learned that area is equal to L times W, which stands for length times width. So let's get into our first problem. It says, use a red crayon to draw rectangle A that is 2 units by 4 units. Use a blue crayon to draw rectangle B that is 2 units by 5 units that is connected to rectangle A. Make sure your 2 smaller rectangles compose one larger rectangle. So let's begin drawing our rectangle. We know that rectangle A is going to be 2 by 4. So I'm going to get my line here. 2. And then I'm going to go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now in this program, boys and girls, I do not have the ability to use different colors. So I'll just label this rectangle A. And then I know that rectangle B is going to be using 2 units by 5 units. So I have 2 units there. I'm going to go over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Okay. And now we have rectangle B. Okay, so I've made sure that my rectangles are connected and they do have the appropriate measurements. Okay. Find the total area of the figure. Okay. So we know that rectangle A is 2, which is our width. Well, actually, let's start with our length. Our length is 4. Sorry about that. Our length is 4. And our width is 1, 2, 2. Okay. For rectangle B, our length is 5. And our width is 2. Okay. So we do know that we need to multiply. So we know that 4 times 2, the area of 4 times 2 is equal to 8. We have this addition sign here. And then we know that 5 times 2 gives us 10. Okay. So let's take a look at what we have so far. We have 4 times 2 plus 5 times 2. After multiplying, we know that 4 times 2 gives us 8, and 5 times 2 gives us 10. So when we add 5, 8 plus 10 together, it's going to be equal to 18 square units in this case. That is the total area. Okay, let's move on to the next. It reads, find the area of the rectangle on the left. Okay, so we know that A is equal to L times W. So A is equal to the length here. They said the longer one, so we're going to go with 6. And our width is going to be 5. So we know that A is equal to 30 square centimeters. Okay. Then it says to find the area of the rectangle on the right. Let's start always with our formula. Area is equal to length times width. So we know by looking at this that the width here is 2, but it doesn't really give us the length on the side. We have to use what we know about rectangles. We do know that parallel sides are equal. So if this is 6 on this side, this also has to be 6. Okay, so now, boys and girls, we can easily finish our problem. So A is equal to 6 times 2. A is equal to 12. 6 times 2 gives us 12 square centimeters. It then says, find the total area of the figure. So we've already done the work at the top, but we can quickly do it again, just so this part will be filled in. So we say 6 times, 6 times 5, and then we know that 6 times 2. So below we have 30. 6 times 5 gives us 30, plus 12 equals 42. Okay, and this is going to be 42 squared centimeters. And that is our answer. Okay, so what is the pattern that we see when we are talking about the area? So boys and girls, we know that A and B is just a larger rectangle that has been cut into 2 pieces. So we can say the area of the larger rectangle is equal to the sum of the smaller rectangles. Okay, and that is it. Let's take a look at a few more. We're going to go now to structure guided practice. Now, these are the pages that you actually have. So let's work on two problems together here. So once again, we're using a red crayon to draw rectangle A, that is 5 units by 3 units. Use a blue crayon to draw rectangle B, that is 5 units by 5 units, and is connected to rectangle A, okay? So we know that A is going to be 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'll come down. All right, and then rectangle B is 5 by 5. So we already have 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. And then bring it down. So here, boys and girls, we have our rectangle A. And on this side, we have rectangle B. Okay, let's continue. Find the total area. So we know that A is 5 by 3. And we know that rectangle B is 5 by 5. Okay, now when we do our multiplication, we'll say that 5 times 3 gives us 15. And we also know that 5 times 5 gives us 25. So our answer here, boys and girls, 15 plus 25 will give us 40. So we'll say 40 squared units. Okay. Next page here. Find the area of the rectangle on the left. Here we have 7 times 4. 7 times 4 equals 28. And the units that we're dealing with in this one is feet. So 28 square feet. And below, find the area of the rectangle on the right. And we're going to once again use what we know about rectangles. So if this side is equal to 7, we know that this side has to also be equal to 7 feet. Okay, so let's do our multiplication now. We have 7 times 6. And our answer here is 42 square feet. In order to find the total area, we're going to multiply 7 times 4. and we're going to add that to the product of 7 times 6. Okay, we know that 7 times 4 equals 28. We also know that the product of 7 times 6 is 42. Okay, and then when we add, I'm going to put it here. So we know that 28 plus 42 will give us 70. 8 plus 2 is 10, carry the 1. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 equals 70. Now, boys and girls, as you know, I am writing this horizontally, but you know how to write it vertically in order to be able to solve the problem. So what is the pattern? We're going to use the same sentence. The total area of the figure is equal to the sum of rectangles A and B. Okay, and that is it for today. So it is now your turn to take a look at the final check for understanding. So basically, you're going to be doing exactly what we did together. Feel free to pause the video as many times as you want to, so that you would have a better understanding of how to solve these area problems using distribution, the distributive property. Have a wonderful morning and take care.